12 Stoic Laws for Unshakable Inner Strength. A Sculpted Grace Production. Introduction: the calm within the chaos. There will come a time when everything you love is tested: your patience, your purpose, even your identity. You'll watch plans crumble, trust dissolve, and dreams fade in silence. Most people break in these moments, begging for the world to be softer, for fate to show mercy. But the Stoic understands that life was never meant to be gentle, it was meant to be real. Every challenge you face is not punishment, it is preparation. Every heartbreak is a lesson in detachment, every failure a blueprint for mastery. Stoicism is not a philosophy written in marble, it's a discipline carved in the fire of experience. It teaches us that peace is not found in perfect conditions but in perfect control of our reactions. When the world shakes, the Stoic does not beg for calm seas, he learns to steer. These 12 laws are not meant to inspire you for a moment, they are meant to fortify you for a lifetime. Each one a weapon against chaos, each one a tool to build the kind of mind that bends to nothing. This is sculpted grace, where we transform pain into power, and weakness into wisdom. Law 1: attack the root, not the symptom. When your peace is disturbed, your first instinct will be to fix the surface, to quiet the noise, to distract the pain, to numb the emotion. But the Stoic knows that no storm can be calmed if the winds come from within. Most people keep trimming the leaves of their suffering while ignoring the roots that keep it alive. The anger that erupts in small moments, the jealousy that hides behind ambition, the fear that disguises itself as caution, all are symptoms of a deeper cause. The Stoic doesn't escape the feeling, he investigates it. He sits with it long enough to understand its origin. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You must become your own physician." When something within you aches, don't rush to medicate the discomfort, trace it to its origin. Perhaps your anger is rooted in unhealed betrayal. Perhaps your anxiety grows from a fear of losing control. Only by naming your true enemy can you disarm it. The Stoic looks inward not to drown in thought, but to liberate himself from illusion. Because once you confront the source of your suffering, it no longer controls you, it teaches you. Law 2: control the frame or be controlled by it. Two people can live through the same event and emerge as completely different souls. One breaks, the other builds. What separates them isn't luck, it's framing. The Stoics believed that perception is not passive, it's power. Life will constantly hand you pain, but how you interpret it determines whether it imprisons you or transforms you. The Stoic learns to control his frame, to recontextualize chaos into training. When he loses something, he sees detachment. When he fails, he sees redirection. Every event becomes fuel for clarity. There's a story of a soldier who lost everything in battle: his rank, his friends, his home. Yet when asked how he survived, he said, "By seeing it differently." He chose to see loss not as punishment but purification. That is Stoicism in action. The event was fixed, his interpretation was not. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." The more you train your mind to reframe adversity, the more unshakable you become. The world can burn around you, and yet, within, you remain calm because the frame belongs to you, not to fate. Law 3, build a mind that's a fortress, not a doorway. We live in a world that constantly demands access to your attention, your emotions, your peace. The Stoic rejects this invasion. He guards his mind like a fortress, not a hallway open to every passing thought. Opinions, gossip, outrage, temptation, these are enemy soldiers disguised as entertainment. They storm your focus and burn your stillness if you let them. The Stoic builds walls through discipline, limited words, intentional input, and careful company. Seneca once warned, associate only with those who lift you higher. Every time you absorb negativity or waste energy arguing over things beyond control, you weaken your defenses. But when you train your focus, when you meditate, journal, or step into silence, you strengthen your gates. A fortress mind doesn't isolate you from life, it protects your clarity within it. It's not about arrogance. It's about alignment. Because peace is not found by escaping the world, it's found by mastering what you allow to enter. Law 4, detach from what you can't command. Attachment is often mistaken for love, but true love, like true peace, cannot depend on control. The Stoics taught that suffering begins when we cling to things we cannot command, people, outcomes, recognition, or permanence. When you grip life too tightly, every loss feels like death. Detachment is not coldness, it's clarity. It's the ability to give fully while knowing that everything, every relationship, every success, every moment is borrowed, not owned. Imagine standing on the shore, trying to hold the tide still with your hands. That's what attachment is, a beautiful, futile act of resistance. Let the tide move. Let people leave. Let moments pass. Because when you stop trying to freeze life, you begin to live it. Epictetus said, when something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. Detachment doesn't mean indifference, it means freedom. It means loving deeply, but never desperately. Law 5, turn pain into power. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. The Stoics saw pain as the raw material of greatness, a forge that tempers the soul. Every obstacle, every heartbreak, every failure contains the blueprint for strength. But only if you decide to use it. When life strikes, most people ask, why me? The Stoic asks, what can this teach me? Because he knows that adversity isn't the enemy, it's the invitation. There's a Roman story of a philosopher exiled from his homeland. Instead of collapsing, he used the isolation to write his greatest work, the same work that guided generations after him. He turned exile into enlightenment. Marcus Aurelius himself ruled through plagues, wars, and betrayal, and instead of bitterness, he gave us meditations. That's the essence of Stoicism, not to escape pain, but to refine it into purpose. The Stoic doesn't run from fire, he learns to walk through it until he glows. Law 6, let silence be your superpower. In a world obsessed with noise, Silence has become rebellion. Everyone wants to speak, argue, and react, but few can simply observe. The Stoic's silence is not emptiness, it's discipline. It's the quiet between impulse and action where clarity is born. The one who can hold his tongue when provoked holds more power than the one who can shout the loudest. Seneca wrote, "It is better to conquer your tongue than your enemies." Silence gives you time to see truth beneath emotion, to calculate before you act. It's not cowardice, it's control. Next time you feel the urge to respond in anger, to defend your pride, or to win the argument, stop. Listen. Let the silence breathe for you. Because power often lies not in what you say but in what you don't. Law 7. Rewrite the story you live under. Every person lives under a story, a quiet narrative whispered beneath every choice and emotion. Some are stories of survival, others of fear, others of unworthiness. Most people never question theirs, they simply inherit it. But the Stoic knows that identity is not a fixed script, it's a manuscript constantly rewritten by awareness. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." That means every thought you repeat stains the fabric of who you believe yourself to be. If the inner voice keeps saying "I'm not enough," that belief becomes your truth, not because it's real, but because you accepted it. To rewrite your story, you must first confront it. What do you tell yourself when you fail? When you're rejected? When things fall apart? The Stoic pauses and reframes. "This is not my ending," he says, "it's my education." He uses failure as data, not as identity. He replaces shame with self-inquiry, and fear with curiosity. You are not the broken child, the overlooked dreamer, or the one who always loses. You are the one who learns. Rewrite your narrative, and you rewrite your future. Because once you take authorship of your thoughts, no one else can hold the pen. Law 8. Practice voluntary discomfort. Modern life whispers a lie, that comfort equals happiness. But the Stoics knew the opposite: comfort breeds fragility. When you only chase ease, you forget how to endure. That's why the greatest Stoic masters practiced voluntary discomfort, walking barefoot, sleeping on the floor, fasting, enduring cold. They understood that if you train your mind to survive difficulty by choice, you'll never be defeated by difficulty imposed. Try it yourself. Skip the luxury. Take the stairs. Wake up early when your mind says 5 more minutes. Not to punish yourself, but to remember who commands who. Epictetus, born a slave, became one of the most disciplined minds in history because he practiced deprivation as a path to freedom. He said, "Difficulties show what men are." Each time you choose discomfort, you remind yourself that strength isn't born in softness, it's built in self-control. When comfort disappears, you remain unshaken. Because you've already learned to stand in the storm. Law 9. Seek virtue over validation. The crowd is loud. It will tell you what success looks like, what beauty means, who you should be. And if you're not careful, you'll live your entire life performing for applause that dies as quickly as it's given. The Stoics saw validation as a trap, a leash disguised as love. They taught that true worth comes not from being admired, but from being aligned with virtue. Seneca wrote, "He who seeks wisdom must not be held hostage by the crowd. Because the crowd will always praise comfort and mock conviction. Virtue is not glamorous, it's quiet. It's doing what is right when no one sees. It's choosing discipline over popularity, honesty over convenience, integrity over applause. When you act from virtue, your peace becomes internal, no longer dependent on approval. You can be misunderstood and still be at ease, because you know your compass is true." The Stoic doesn't live to impress the world, he lives to impress his conscience. And that's a kind of freedom no validation can buy. Law 10, remember you will die, memento mori. Memento mori, remember you must die. At first, it sounds morbid, but to the Stoics, it was the ultimate reminder to live. Marcus Aurelius began each morning by reflecting that the day could be his last. Not to fall into despair, but to focus on what truly matters. When you remember your time is limited, pettiness dies. The argument you're holding onto, the resentment you feed, the endless waiting to start someday all become illusions when placed beside mortality. Imagine carrying an hourglass filled with your own years, the sand slipping quietly through your hands. How much time do you waste complaining, comparing, hesitating? Death isn't the enemy, indifference is. The Stoic uses mortality as motivation. He speaks truth today, loves deeply today, forgives when possible, and walks away when necessary. Because he knows the clock is not pausing for his fear. To remember death is not to worship it, it's to respect life enough to live it fully. Law 11, focus only on what you can control. Most suffering is self-inflicted, born from trying to govern what never belonged to you. Other people's opinions. The future. The past. The weather. The outcome. The Stoics divided life into two columns, things within your control and things outside it. The first column is small, your actions, your thoughts, your attitude. The second is infinite. And yet, most people live trapped in that second one, worrying about what they can never command. Freedom begins when you bring your energy back home. When you stop trying to fix everyone else and start mastering yourself. You can't control whether the sun rises, but you can control how you face the dawn. You can't control betrayal, but you can control whether it hardens or refines you. Epictetus said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things." When you finally accept this, peace is no longer a goal, it's the natural state beneath all resistance. Law 12, live according to nature. To live according to nature means to live in harmony with reality, not fighting what is, not demanding permanence from what is meant to change. Everything around you is movement, seasons, relationships, even your own body. The Stoics understood that resistance to this truth is the root of misery. You suffer not because life is cruel, but because you expected it to be static. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the universe is change, life is opinion. The wise accept the current, not because they are weak, but because they have learned to swim with it. When you align with nature, you stop arguing with life. You wake without resentment, love without ownership, work without obsession. You begin to see that everything, joy and sorrow, gain and loss, are threads of the same fabric. Acceptance doesn't mean apathy, it means agility. It means saying, this is what is now, how do I move with it wisely? When you live by this law, nothing surprises you, nothing enslaves you. You no longer chase peace, you become it. Conclusion: the sculpted mind. Stoicism isn't about becoming emotionless, it's about becoming unbreakable. It's the art of standing still while the world trembles. These 12 laws are not abstract ideas, they are practical commands. Attack the root, control the frame, guard your mind, detach from illusion, transform pain, master silence, rewrite your story, embrace discomfort, seek virtue, remember mortality, focus on control, and flow with nature. You were never meant to drift through life reacting to chaos. You were meant to command yourself through it with grace, clarity, and calm strength. That is what it means to be truly free. To be sculpted not by comfort, but by discipline. To walk through storms and call them lessons. To lose everything and still remain whole. This is the path of the Stoic. This is the way of sculpted grace. Not louder but stronger. Not harder but wiser. Unshaken. Unmoved. Unbreakable.